What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Blade, and we're back with some more iceberg reactions. Today, we got Japan's most disturbing moments in TV history. We saw Korea's. Let's see what's going on in Japan, bro. Without further ado, we're going straight into it.
Japanese TV can be deeply disturbing. From the unsettling and suspenseful, we'll look at these moments in the form of an iceberg. Layer by layer, we'll go down deeper, where each broadcast will become more obscure and disturbing. So let's start at the tip of the iceberg. In January 1998,
Denpa Shonen.
a young comedian named Tomoaki Hamatsu was selected by producers of the variety show Denpa Shonen for what they called a Life of Prizes challenge. You may actually know him as his story circulated online a few years ago.
That he looks familiar. I swear I've seen like videos about him.
With the nickname Nasubi. But the creators and producers weren't satisfied with just milking Nasubi, going on to create a plethora of other shows. But for now, let's start where it all began. In Nasubi's case, the concept was simple. He would live alone in a small, unfurnished apartment and survive only on items he won from magazine sweepstakes. He was given no clothes, no contact with the outside world, and no time limit. Hidden cameras filmed everything. The producers told him he could leave once he had won 1 million yen worth of prizes. For the first week, he had nothing to eat. He survived by drinking water from a pot and eating pet food he had won. And even when he finally won a bag of rice, he had to wait another week before receiving cookware to actually cook it. The producers recorded every reaction and broadcast his progress in weekly highlight reels, narrated with upbeat music and jokes. The viewers saw his body thin, his posture collapse, and his tone of voice completely change. After more than a year in isolation, at a whopping 15 months, he finally reached his goal. But that's not where it ends. Since the broadcast became a national phenomenon, the segments drew millions of viewers, and Nasubi, meaning eggplant by the way for his long face, became a household name at the time, and the producers just couldn't afford to let it end. Nasubi was blindfolded and transported to another location by the producers, only to be told to repeat the grueling 15-month process, but in Korea. This time he needed to earn enough money in prizes to buy his plane ticket home. Now, to your...
Although that's not bad, a plane ticket is like a couple thousand, right? Not a couple thousand.
my surprise, it might be nice to know that Nasubi actually got insanely good at winning the sweepstakes and managed to buy his ticket home in roughly 3 to 4 months.
Okay, this guy learned, bro. This guy learned. Boom, optimized the run.
In later interviews, Nasubi said that he did not know the show was airing when he started, and he believed it was actually an audition at first. When he was released, he could barely speak to others. He described the experience as disorientating and said he needed time to learn basic social habits again. After Nasubi though, the producers just couldn't give up on these endurance programs and decided to do another. Denpa Shonen Africa Hitchhike. They decided to replace isolation with distance. This time they took 2 comedians, Takashi Yasuoka and Toshihiro Hasegawa, were chosen for the next challenge. They were to hitchhike from the southern tip of Africa to the northern edge of Europe with no money, no plan, and no help from the producers.
Brother. Yeah, I don't know why I'm yawning so much. I'm not bored, bro. I'd be recording so late at night that I just be getting tired. That's why the video's not boring. That's why I'm yawning. I usually always record like near the end of the day. I'm just like sleepy. So you know this is real, bro. Daily uploads. Don't matter if I'm tired, we record.
The journey began in 1995 at Cape Agahalas in South Africa. The crew told them their final destination was Nordkapp, Norway. Between those 2 points lay more than 20,000 kilometers of land and nearly 20 national borders. The show gave them a translator and one rule. The only help they would receive would be from strangers. At first, it played like a travel comedy. They smiled for the camera, thanked drivers, and joked about their progress. But weeks turned
Yo, is this guy doing blackface?
into months, and they crossed the deserts on the back of trucks, spent nights sleeping on roadsides, and were often stranded for days without food or water. Each Sunday, the show aired their struggles with cheerful music and narration that called their exhaustion spirit, and their near starvation determination. The tone didn't match the footage. One episode showed the pair collapsing from heat in the Sahara, surrounded by livestock and dust. Another showed them contracting malaria in East Africa. The camera stayed on them as they sweated through fevers and kept walking, with the crew never stepping in. By the time they reached Europe, more than a year had passed. Their hair was long, their skin burned, and they spoke way less. The show introduced them as national heroes when they finally reached Norway in 1996. The journey had taken around 500 days. On television, it ended with smiles and confetti. Off camera, they later said they felt totally empty, arguably having it worse than Naseby. When interviewed years later, both comedians admitted that many scenes were refilmed for narrative flow, being told to exaggerate their emotions and cheer for the camera. You can imagine how much worse it might have been
Dog, this guy does not look alive.
the second those cameras stopped rolling. And just add to the fact that they wouldn't receive any payment until after the show had completed airing,
Bro.
quitting just didn't really seem like an option. The Africa Hitchhike became one of the highest rated segments in Dempra Shonen history. And seeing this, the producers decided to try send it even further.
Bro, these guys are just going crazy, bro.
The next arc was Desert Island Escape. Filmed in 1998, contestants were left on an uninhabited island and told they could only return to civilization once they had built a raft capable of taking them to another shore. The island had no food, no shelter, or equipment beyond a few basic tools. Cameras were mounted on tripods and filmed every moment of their attempt to survive. Days turned into weeks. They foraged for shellfish, collected rainwater, and slept in improvised huts. Some contestants suffered infections from insect bites and cuts. Others nearly collapsed from heat exhaustion, and the producers sent no medical help. Each episode showed their slow physical decline, edited with cheerful narration that framed the ordeal as an adventure. When they finally managed to lash together a raft, the men looked skeletal, and the final scenes of the show showed them paddling into open water, half victory, half exhaustion. The show continued to expand, in 1998, Dempra Shonen launched Around the World Hitchhike, a spiritual sequel to Africa Hitchhike, with the new contestants were ordered to travel around the entire planet by hitchhiking.
Excuse me? Excuse me? Did you just say hitchhike? Around the entire planet? Let me run that back.
Dempra Shonen launched Around the World Hitchhike, a spiritual sequel to Africa Hitchhike, with the new contestants were ordered to travel around the entire planet by hitchhiking.
Is that even possible?
With no money and no set routes,
Is that even possible?
they lived on the generosity of strangers, sleeping in cars, fields, and bus stations across multiple continents. At one point, one contestant broke down on camera begging to return home, with the producers refusing. The final iteration arrived in 2001, Japanese Reform Project. Contestants were subjected to social experiments designed to improve them as citizens. They lived in isolation, performed repetitive labor, and followed arbitrary rules set by unseen producers. The show's tone grew darker and viewership actually began to drop. Public opinion had shifted. What once seemed funny now looked incredibly cruel. By the early 2000s, Dempra Shonen had become a national controversy. The network defended it as satire, but behind the scenes, multiple participants reported psychological trauma. And finally, after a flood of complaints and falling ratings, Dempra Shonen was quietly cancelled. Om Shinrikyo on TV.
Yeah, that, Dempra Shonen, freaking torture, dog. It's literally tortured, live streamed. Not live streamed, but torture recorded for everyone's entertainment, bro. Except the people involved.
Before the 1995 Tokyo subway siren attack, Om Shinrikyo was a religious group garnering serious media attention. was a frequent guest on Japanese television, where their leader, Shoko Asahara, appeared on talk shows, variety programs, and news debates throughout the late 1980s and early 1990s. At the time, he was presented as a charismatic yoga teacher who claimed to offer enlightenment through aesthetic training and spiritual science. Producers saw him as an eccentric figure who drew attention. He wore white robes, quoted Buddhists and Hindu texts, and spoke about the coming end of the world. On television, he was treated as a novelty, another strange personality in a country fascinated by mysticism and the supernatural. The tone was light, and the hosts laughed at Asahara as he levitated in staged demonstrations or read prophecies about global war. All members also appeared in music videos, variety skits, and call-in talk shows. They danced in robes, sang pop-style songs about salvation, and promoted a growing catalog of books and merchandise. Their image in media was seriously made out to be incredibly positive. Viewers didn't see them as violent at all, and the broadcast gave Om free publicity. And by 1994, the cult had more than 10,000 followers in Japan and overseas. Some journalists questioned Asahara's claims of divine power, but their reports were buried beneath the entertainment coverage of mainstream media. The cult also used the media exposure to attract educated recruits. University students, scientists, and doctors joined after seeing him on television. For them, Om seemed intellectual, even scientific. It spoke about merging religion with technology, a concept that matched the optimism of the era.
What the heck? What does that even mean? Merging religion with technology.
On the morning of March 20th, 1995, commuters boarded the Tokyo subway as usual. It was the busiest hour of the day, with trains being packed with office workers and students. But among them were 5 men carrying plastic bags wrapped in newspaper. Each of these men boarded a different train on 3 separate subway lines. Inside the bags were liquid sarin, a nerve agent originally developed as a chemical weapon. The attackers placed the packages on the floor and punctured them with sharpened umbrella tips, then stepped off the trains. As the liquid spread and evaporated, passengers began coughing, some fell to the ground, their eyes burning and lungs seizing. Others stumbled onto the platform trying to escape, but the train operators didn't know what was happening. Some continued running their lines, unaware that the air in their carriages was now poison. Within minutes, chaos reached central stations. Commuters collapsed on platforms and station staff tried to help, not realizing that the gas was slowly killing them too. By the end of the day, 13 people didn't survive and more than 6,000 were injured. Om Shinrikyo's name spread across every screen. Viewers recognized the faces of the group's leaders from talk shows they had once laughed at. The investigation revealed that the gas had been produced in Om's own laboratory, with orders coming directly from Shoko Asahara himself, who believed the attack would trigger a world war and bring about the apocalypse he had predicted on television. In the following weeks, raids on Om facilities uncovered more sarin stockpiles, weapons, and chemicals capable of killing millions. The media that had once invited Asahara on air now broadcast his live arrest. His earlier interviews were replayed as examples of collective blindness and how dangerous cults can really be.
Of course they're dangerous, bro. Cult activity is always dangerous. These are just brainwashed people doing crazy ass things, thinking that it's gonna save them. And then their leader is always the leader that gets freaking sent to jail, bro. Doing illegal activity by making his followers do it.
It's shocking to see how widely accepted Om was in the media just months prior. Those TV appearances become incredibly disturbing when you know it was all an act to hire university students to create those poisons and weapons. Muscle Ranking was one of Japan's more popular physical challenge shows during the late 1990s and early 2000s. It aired on TBS and featured elaborate obstacle courses designed to test endurance, balance, and strength.
How does this... I'm curious to how this turns dark. Just seems like a normal Japanese game show.
Contestants range from athletes to comedians, all competing for bragging rights as the ultimate muscle champion.
Okay. Oh.
But this show pushed the physical risks even further. Each episode showcased increasingly dangerous stunts, climbing walls slicked with oil, having to dodge giant pendulums, balancing on narrow beams suspended over water. The danger was treated as part of the spectacle, but safety was really not the main concern here. And the padding that you might see on modern shows like this was incredibly minimal. The tone was super lighthearted, with energetic narration and sound effects that made the fall seem harmless. For years, no one questioned it. Well, that changed in 2002. On May 5th, 2 contestants were seriously injured during filming. The first incident occurred on an obstacle called Rock Valley, where players ran between large swinging boulders. One competitor slipped and was struck by a moving prop and suffered a spinal fracture. During the same taping, another participant fell awkwardly into a moat and was also hospitalized with severe back injuries. Both required long-term treatment and were left partially paralyzed. TBS suspended the show immediately after the incidents, and news outlets reported that medical supervision had been minimal on set and that a lot of safety measures were ignored to save filming time. Behind the scenes, producers admitted that they had repeatedly pushed contestants to go faster to maintain the show's pacing. When the network investigated, it found that several minor injuries had also gone unreported. The scandal ended Muscle Ranking's run, with TBS announcing its cancellation, citing serious concerns over participant safety. The final broadcast aired later that year, ending a series that had once drawn millions of viewers. The impact went beyond a single program, with other variety and competition shows began tightening their safety standards. Some networks introduced dedicated medical staff for live stunts, and production guidelines were rewritten across the industry. The event became a reference point in later discussions about reality TV ethics, how far entertainment can go before it crossed into negligence. Now we move into Tier 2, starting with Honto ni Ata Noroi no Video.
Yo, we got Japanese horror? Okay, this is about to be crazy.
In 1999, Fuji TV aired the first episode of a new late-night series called Cursed Videos That Really Happened. It opened with a simple premise: anonymous tapes sent to the producers, each showing something strange that couldn't be explained. The early episodes looked like documentary television. A reporter drove to the location, interviewed witnesses, and replayed the submitted clip again and again, zooming in on blurry figures or distorted faces. Audiences believed it. The footage was low quality, often shot on VHS or HI8 cameras, and the imperfections made it convincing. People sent in their own cursed videos, hoping to see them on television. Some came from home movies, others from wedding recordings, abandoned buildings, or security footage.
Wedding recordings.
By the early 2000s, Noroi no Video had become a subculture of its own, part horror, part urban legend, and part archive fear. One of its most infamous segments focused on the Inokashira Park dismemberment case. In 1994, human remains were found scattered across a park in Tokyo. Years later, the show claimed to have received a tape near the site. The clip showed a group of teenagers filming it at night, laughing until the camera caught a shadow behind the trees. The voiceover said that one of the boys who appeared in the footage later disappeared. No follow-up was ever aired, with the episode becoming the centerpiece of the show's reputation. Neo Mujicha. On May 3rd, 2000, an anonymous post appeared on the Japanese message board 2channel. It read, "I'm going to hijack a bus." The username was Neo Mujicha, meaning no barley tea. At the time, 2channel was known for trolling and dark humor, so users brushed it off as another hoax. A few replied with laughter, and some told him to stream it live. Everyone just assumed it was a joke. However, that afternoon, a 17-year-old boy boarded a bus, number 2103 in Fukuoka City. He was carrying a kitchen knife and a container of gasoline. When the bus reached Tenjin Station, he pulled out the weapon and took the passengers hostage. The driver stopped the bus, and the boy demanded please stay away. One passenger who tried to intervene was... Another was wounded when he tried to escape through a window. Within an hour, local television crews arrived. They surrounded the area, broadcasting live from only meters away. By evening, all major networks had cut to rolling the coverage. Cameras zoomed in on the bus door, showing movement inside. Occasionally, the curtains shifted and someone could be seen crying. Reporters described what they were seeing in real time, completely unaware that the attacker had a small television inside the vehicle with him, so he could watch everything they were saying. The standoff lasted through the night. Police negotiators spoke.
Bruh. This guy has a whole small TV. Got those antenna TVs, just watching all of them being like, now he's here, he's doing this in the van, in the bus.
With him by using a megaphone, asking him to release the hostages. The boy shouted back that he had gasoline and would ignite it if anyone approached. Around 8 AM, after more than 15 hours, a special police unit stormed the bus. The broadcast showed flashes of movement and the sound of shouting. Moments later, the boy was arrested, with one woman succumbing to her injuries. When his age was revealed, the networks cut his name and blurred his face, but the internet already knew him as Neo Mujicha. His 2-channel post was still visible, people archived it, quoting his words and his spelling, even the timestamp. In the aftermath, the media faced criticism for turning the siege into a spectacle, by filming every moment they had broadcast police tactics and even given the attacker attention in real time. 2Channel's founder, Hiroyuki Nishimura, was questioned over whether the site bore responsibility for not removing the threat. What do you think he's gonna do though? Why are they mad at him? Be for real. They removed the post, he's still gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually facts. He was gonna do it either way. Doesn't matter if he posted it or not.
The kid probably wouldn't even know the post was deleted. He'd be on the bus already. The incident became—
That's also true. He made the post and he probably just cut scene. He's dipped and he did what he wanted to do. By the time they deleted it, this guy's already driving the bus.
became known as the Fukuoka bus hijacking. It changed how Japan viewed both the internet and live television. Copycats appeared under new names, Neo Oolong Tea, Neo Coke, posting their own threads for attention, and the term Neo Mujicha entered online slang for a shorthand of time, as a way to mean, this post might be deadly. In 2003, Fuji TV aired a strange late-night program called Hoso Kinshi, translated as Banned Broadcast. It was presented as a compilation of television segments that were supposedly too disturbing to air. Each episode opened with a warning and a countdown.
Bro, you can do that? This is late night, bro. Late night TV, anything goes.
As if the footage had been recovered from the network's own archives. And what followed didn't look like fiction, but like an unfinished news report. The first installment began with a single premise: a local documentary crew filming a profile on a suburban family. The footage was rough, full of mistakes and awkward cuts. The mother smiled too long, the father avoided the camera, and every shot felt slightly off. Midway through, a jump cut revealed inconsistencies. People standing in places they shouldn't be, a background object moving between takes. The editing itself became the story, with viewers realizing something inside the footage wasn't supposed to be seen. Later, an editor within the episode discovered a subliminal image hidden in a single frame. The tone shifted from slice-of-life documentary to psychological horror. The narration grew erratic, describing how the producers began investigating their own video. By the end of the episode, it implied that the family had been involved in a murder, and that the proof had been accidentally captured by Fuji TV cameras. When it aired, many viewers thought it was a genuine broadcast error. The style mimicked real documentary editing, with no music cues or transitions, and just handheld cameras and production logs shown on screen. Only after the credits did the names of the actors appear, revealing that the entire program was staged. But by then, the damage was already done. The realism blurred the line between lost footage and staged confession. The broadcast company had people calling in, spooked out of their minds, thinking it was genuinely real. Over time, Banned from Broadcast gained a cult status in Japan's horror community. Pirated DVDs and partial uploads circulated on Nico Nico and YouTube. Viewers dissected the editing frame by frame, searching for hidden messages and coded text. Some claimed later episodes were real, recorded independently by copycat creators who never credited Fuji TV. The series stopped without announcement in 2008. Fuji never explained why. Officially, the network refers to it as Fictional Documentary Project, but the channel no longer includes it in retrospective listings, with its episodes mostly surviving through home recordings and fan archives. 2 decades later, Banned from Broadcast still appears in lost media circles and horror wikis. It's a shame that such an innovative project was lost to time. Welcome to Tier 3.
Alright, here we go.
Here we're going to be looking at some more serious cases, so let's get started. In March 1984, a criminal group calling itself the Monster with 21 Faces began terrorizing Japan's food companies. Their campaign started with the kidnapping of Katsuhi, the president of the confectionery giant Glyco. Masked men broke into his home, bound his family, and took him to a warehouse near Osaka. 3 days later he escaped. No ransom was ever paid, but a letter soon arrived at Glyco headquarters saying, "We have taken your president, we will strike again." Soon after, supermarkets across Japan began receiving threats. The group claimed to have poisoned Glyco candies with cyanide. Entire product lines were recalled, shelves emptied overnight, and the television news showed workers burning thousands of boxes in factory lots. The message was clear. The criminals weren't after money. They were just in it for the love of the game. Just
Yo, this for the love of the game, bro. These guys are trolling for the love of the game.
totally pure evil. Over the next year, they sent dozens of letters to police and newspapers, mocking the investigation and signing each one with the name The Monster with 21 Faces. They wrote in detail about police movements, taunted detectives by name, and warned that new victims were next. The letters were read aloud on nightly news, and the anchors debated whether to continue airing them. The group seemed to be watching television as closely as everyone else. In June 1984, security cameras captured a man in a baseball cap placing boxes near a store that sold Glyco products. He was believed to be planting poison candy. The boxes he placed near Glyco distribution points were thought to contain cyanide-laced products, part of the group's threat to contaminate stores nationwide. And when the police opened them, the labels read "Danger, contains toxins." The footage became the center of the investigation, with the only visual trace of the group. Every network replayed it nightly, hoping someone would identify him, but the man in the baseball cap never appeared again, and his face and the mask were never found. The group shifted its threats to other companies, including Morinaga, House Foods, and Fujiya. Every new letter arrived in coded phrases and deliberate spelling errors. Police formed a nationwide task force, the largest in Japanese history at the time. Despite hundreds of suspects, no arrests were made. In August 1985,
Bro, these guys are like the Japanese Anonymous or something, bro.
the police superintendent in charge of the case, Yamamoto Shoji, took his own life in his car. He left a note apologizing for his failure to stop the crimes. Soon after, the Monster with 21 Faces sent a final message to the media. It said, "Yamamoto died. We decided to stop. We were tired of playing."
Brother, these mans are actually evil. You're like, oh no, we took it too far, guys. Yeah, we're sorry. We're done playing. Yeah, you just made someone unalive themselves.
The letter stopped and the case was never solved. TBS and the Sakamoto family murder. In October 1989, a Tokyo-based lawyer named Sakamoto agreed to appear on a television interview about the rising religious group Aum Shinrikyo. This was before the sarin attacks, and Sakamoto was one of the few people who was openly critical of the group. As a lawyer, he represented families trying to rescue relatives who had joined Aum. The interview was filmed by Tokyo Broadcasting System, TBS, for a late-night investigative show. Sakamoto spoke his mind. He called Aum a dangerous cult, described its control over followers, and mentioned that he was preparing legal action to strip the group of its religious status. It was the kind of footage that could have changed public perception of Asahara early on, but it never aired. Before the program was broadcast, Aum members learned about the interview, and according to court testimony given by former cult members, TBS staff privately showed the unedited tape to Aum representatives in order to hear their side of the story. This was done without Sakamoto's consent.
What the hell? Why would you do that?
And after the recording, Aum demanded the segment be cancelled.
Yeah, obviously they're gonna say that. Yo, they don't want that defamation.
With the network complying, which resulted in the interview being completely pulled from the lineup. A few days later, on the night of November 3rd, 1989, Sakamoto, his wife Satoko, and their 1-year-old son disappeared from their home in Yokohama.
Bro, see, cult activity, bro. They freaking took all of them.
The apartment showed signs of a struggle, but no one knew where they had gone. At first, police suspected they had gone into hiding due to threats from the cult, but they could never imagine the cult themselves being actually involved. With the Aum cult going on to send letters denying involvement and mocking investigators. It took 6 years to uncover the truth, but in 1995, after the Tokyo subway sarin attack showcased what Aum really was, cult members confessed to the killing of the Sakamoto family.
Brother. 6 years later, they're like, oh, yep, we killed them back then.
They had broken into the home and taken them. The revelation ignited public outrage, not only toward Aum, but towards TBS. Journalists discovered that the network's decision to show the interview to the cult may have directly led to the family's deaths.
Yeah, you don't say, bro. It's freaking exposed. Like, yeah, this guy talking shit about you guys, huh? And they're like, oh, this is the guy? Okay, thanks. We don't want you to air this. And then they're like, okay. And you just freaking put a freaking red dot on my boy Sakamoto and his whole family, bro. And now look what happened. You done killed him. And his wife and his kid.
The staff members involved admitted to the screening but said they had not realized the danger. The company issued a public apology calling it a grave ethical lapse. The Japanese Broadcasting Ethics and Program Involvement Organization, BPO, later condemned the network for violating professional standards and betraying the trust of their source. The case became a landmark example of how media negligence can have fatal consequences. When the details came out, viewers watched old news clips of Asahara smiling on variety shows and talk programs. Many realized that television had helped build the cult's image while silencing its critics. The same media ecosystem that once treated Asahara as an eccentric mystic had now played an indirect role in protecting him from exposure. Due to this incident, TBS temporarily suspended its investigative programming and replaced its senior producers. The Sakamoto interview tape, the one that was never aired, became evidence in court, with its contents finally being made public years later in documentaries about Aum. The footage showed a calm, articulate man warning the nation about a cult that would later commit one of the worst terrorist acts in Japanese history. Yukino Kikuma's fall. In September
Oh, hell no, bro. Are we gonna see freaking someone recording their own demise?
1998, Fuji TV announcer Yukino Kikuma appeared on a live segment of the morning program Mezamashi TV. The broadcast was meant to demonstrate a new emergency escape device designed for high-rise buildings.
That literally just looks like tape. What are we doing, brother? Oh, okay.
A harness system that allowed users to rappel safely from windows during a fire. Kikuma volunteered to test it on air from the 5th floor of the Fuji TV building.
Yeah, and then something goes wrong, and then flat. Look at her happy, bro. It's the last time she's gonna be happy.
In Tokyo. The setup was simple. A camera crew filmed from the street, while another covered the interior shot from the window. The device was secured to a metal anchor, and Kikuma, dressed in casual clothing, smiled as the host introduced the demonstration. She stepped onto the ledge, attached the harness, and leaned forward for the descent, only for the rope to give way almost immediately.
Bro, she had no chance, bro. It wasn't even like slowly coming down. That instant, just. And freaking dude's recording like this.
Viewers watched as she fell roughly 13 meters to the ground. The camera cut away mid-fall, but her scream was heard clearly through the microphone. The broadcast froze for several seconds before the studio anchors returned, visibly shaken. They apologized and said the demonstration had been suspended. Emergency staff rushed her to the hospital. She survived, suffering multiple fractures and a concussion. Fuji TV issued a public statement later that day, admitting that the escape device had not been properly tested before use.
Bro, you couldn't like use it on like a dummy, like a doll? Y'all didn't even test it, bro. You just made something and not test it. And then use a real human and be like, yeah, that works. Watch this. Freaking insta kill. Poor lady right here. Now in a full body cast. Regretting everything she's done. Why does she deserve this?
Investigators found that the safety harness had been attached incorrectly by staff who were unfamiliar with the equipment.
Why would you make them do it? You should have had the person who knew how to do it put it on. You just made the news staff do it. They're like, yeah, this should click like this. Okay, yeah, this looks good. Fine. All right, Yukino. 3, 2, 1. Oh, shoot!
Kikuma later spoke about the accident, saying she remembered stepping off the ledge and realizing the rope had gone slack before losing consciousness. She spent several months in recovery and returned to work the following year. Even though
You're going back to work after that? You should have sued their ass, bro.
the accident ended without loss of life, it became one of Japan's most infamous broadcast accidents, because it happened during a routine morning show watched by millions. For years afterwards, producers cited it as the reason to avoid unsupervised live demonstrations. Fukushima 2011. On March 11, 2011, a magnitude 9 earthquake struck off the northeast coast of Japan. It was the strongest in the country's recorded history, and within an hour, a tsunami more than 10 meters high hit the coastline of Fukushima Prefecture, sweeping away homes, cars, and entire neighborhoods. Power plants along the shore shut down automatically, except for one. The Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power station lost all power to its cooling systems. Within hours, engineers realized the reactors were overheating. The government issued evacuation orders, but at first, the disaster was only seen from the ground, until NHK's helicopter camera arrived the next morning. At 10:30 a.m. on March 12th, NHK went live from the air. The camera focused on the coastline, a plume of white smoke rising from one of the buildings. The reporter's voice was calm, describing the visible damage from the tsunami. Then the smoke turned grey, and the camera shook. A low rumble filled the feed as the top of the number 1 reactor building erupted in a flash. Metal panels flew upward, followed by a cloud that spread into the sky. It happened live, broadcast nationwide without a delay. The helicopter footage continued showing the wreckage in real time. Viewers across Japan saw the blast before the government confirmed anything. Many assumed it was another aftershock, not realizing they had just witnessed a hydrogen explosion at a nuclear reactor. The broadcast was replayed repeatedly throughout the day. NHK analysts tried to explain what the images meant, while officials refused to confirm whether radiation had been released. Other networks copied the footage, each adding speculation. By that evening, radiation levels near the plant had risen sharply. Residents who had been told to stay indoors began fleeing inland. The unfiltered broadcast had made the danger visible before anyone could soften the message. Within days, all networks introduced new time delays for live coverage, a censorship measure designed to prevent another uncontrolled transmission of catastrophic events. The helicopter footage became the most replayed image of the Fukushima disaster, with every anniversary returning to that shot. For NHK, it remains a defining moment, a case where the truth reached the public faster than the authorities intended, causing mass panic across the country.
That's good. We need to know what happens before they water everything down, bro. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. This was, I don't know, this one wasn't as disturbing as the Korean one, I'm not gonna lie. Maybe because I was kind of sleepy too. I was pretty much yawning for like half the video, not gonna lie. But this one, no, this one had like some crazy ones too. No? Like near the end is like super messed up. Cult activity, negligence from the media company. That's always makes me mad. Banned broadcast that this dude freaking stealing the bus. The cursed video that's real. This is just messed up TV show. I mean, the first one is messed up. That's just human torture, and it's just being aired for everyone. Cult activity. Yeah. This one was actually pretty crazy. I know my reaction wasn't the best for this video, I'm not gonna lie. I'm sorry. But I still did the upload. Bear with me. We won't be doing that all the time. That was a pretty good video still. Pretty good video. W video Noxly. Don't go down the iceberg. Yeah, we watched this one. We gonna check more out from Noxly. W video. Yeah, that's one. Yeah, the Dempa Shonen was fried. The producers actually should just went to jail, bro. That's literally human torture for the public to watch. Yeah, the cult was messed up. TV show was messed up. Everything was messed up. Well, that was the Japan's most disturbing moments in TV history. I just feel bad for not reacting properly for this video. Y'all been going crazy. That Mr. Beast video blew up in like 2-3 hours, bro. I never got views like that in like months. I appreciate y'all for watching. Sorry about this. This one I wasn't really tapped in. Not gonna lie. Maybe because I was sleepy, but it's okay. We're gonna come back tomorrow. New day of the week. Start fresh Monday. Got better reaction coming up. I don't know what it's gonna be. I'm gonna look through, find another crazy video to react to, and I'll see y'all in that new video. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more reactions. And let me know, bro. We got new people watching, new eyes on the channel. Let me know down below in the comments. What do you want me to react to, bro? I'm open for anything. You want to scare me? You want to make me laugh? You want me to try not to laugh? Try not to cry? Try not to, I don't know. Let me know what you want. You got a cool video you want me to react to? You want to see me scared? You want to see me cry? You want to see me get angry? I don't know, man. Let me know. I will react. And shout you out. I'll be like, yo, this guy right here, he told me to watch this video. Anyways, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.